Connecticut ranks 46th in a new labor policy report from the American Legislative Exchange Council, referred to as ALEC, and we're happy to be joined by Alan Jernigan. He's co-author of their Commerce, Insurance, and Economic Development Task Force on Labor Policies, ranking states on labor friendliness. And this is kind of a landmark study they've done, so we're honored to get a few minutes with ALEC. Tell us exactly what ALEC is and a summary of the report.
Yeah, absolutely. So ALEC is the largest voluntary membership organization comprised of state legislators dedicated to the principles of limited government, free markets, and federalism. So this report kind of encompasses that, and it's the third edition of our labor publication, but this new edition features a state ranking. So we titled it States That Work, a Labor Policy Roadmap Across America, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Show what states are working and the workers are getting opportunities, and looking at it across the entire country. So how we rank these states is we took 10 key ALEC model policies that are pro-growth, pro-labor, pro-worker, and promote worker freedom. So we took these 10 policies, looked at what states had on the books, and then compared them and created a ranking. And as you mentioned, Connecticut did fall into the bottom 5, finishing 46 in our ranking.
And I will say this, that we're known for being in the bottom 5 for Connecticut business friendliness. Let me ask you first, we have a governor here, Governor Ned Lamont, who's from Greenwich, actually, a moderate Democrat. Has he tried to make progress in this, or why is Connecticut lagging?
Well, Connecticut just, it seems, hasn't prioritized some of the pro-worker and pro-growth policies that are featured in this publication. You know, some of them are as simple as allowing someone that's been licensed to work in a profession in another state to come and have their license recognized by the new state. It allows people to move across borders and contribute to the economy efficiently. And then also, I mean, the one statistic Connecticut performed pretty well is there is a low reliance on the government for jobs. But outside of that, if you look at the private sector employment growth, the minimum wage, and some of the union membership rankings, those are all very high and above average for the country.
And you mentioned in the report outdated mandates. We've been a one-party state for 40 or 50 years. Is that the problem, getting in to change the culture and understanding these problems? And let me couple that with your focus is worker friendliness. Unions would say their focus is worker friendliness as well. What differentiates?
Yeah, well, to answer the second question first, it's really about giving the workers the freedom to choose. So allowing them to have the choice of whether or not to financially support a union through right to work and not feel required to do that just to keep their jobs. So it's really about just promoting choice and allowing workers to find their own version of the American dream. And in terms of the kind of where Connecticut's been for the last, several decades, it really is, you need to kind of turn that mentality and thought process to the workers themselves, rather than other organizations. The workers, will know what's best for them and their families and their individual situation. So promoting that opportunity for them to make that choice and find their own version of the American dream is really kind of where things need to go to help these workers out.
I find that's an interesting point too, because obviously unions say they do that, and when there's right to work or the things you're talking about, it's generally because it's to side with the company, corporate or business side. But you're actually focused on the exact same thing, which I find interesting. Now, let me the rankings: Connecticut is 46, New York is 47. Massachusetts is 48. Those are all basically northeastern states. I don't know if you find that because of democratic states or more unionized states. And we talk about that. And then what makes the successful states? And the top ones are Arizona and Utah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, looking geographically and at the breakdown, kind of that those 3 states fall into the bottom 5. And I think you're exactly right. It really is kind of just a different focus in these states. As we look at states like Arizona and Utah that have done such a great job promoting worker freedom, giving their workers choices, and allowing the free market to thrive. Some of these other states, through government mandates and other things, have kind of really restricted the opportunities of businesses and workers to find what they're looking for. But as you mentioned, yeah, looking at kind of the top states, Arizona and Utah, they've taken massive strides in past large-reaching labor reforms that have really benefited the workers of their state, and not only the workers, but brought opportunities through new business and investment into their states.
Laws that defend Janus rights, if I'm pronouncing that right, and promote transparency in the public sector bargaining. What are Janus rights?
Gents' rights are allowing it's kind of the public sector version of right to work, just allowing workers the choice, knowing they have the First Amendment right to choose or to not to choose whether or not they want to financially support or join a union at all. Just giving them that freedom and allowing them, as we've kind of been talking about, just the freedom of choice, giving them that freedom to choose what they want to support, where they want their money to go.
I want to just finish up with one question. I think this is a good one that you have this focus on easing cross-state licensing for workers. I know real estate folks have to get licensed in Connecticut and New York, and is this proven to be a big success, making this transferability, I guess you'd call it?
Absolutely. Well, and it really just kind of promotes opportunities in the state, allowing people to come, and they've spent all the time and money and resources getting a license in one state. They have to move or want to work across the border, especially um, when you have states like Connecticut that share so many borders with cities that you can have people live in one city and move to and go over to another and work. It really just promotes that opportunity and gives as many chances for workers to find a career and clients and success in their field of choice.
We've been talking with Alan Jernigan, who's co-author of a landmark study on labor policy friendliness, of which our state, Connecticut, unfortunately, is in the bottom five. But we've learned a lot about what makes states successful in the best worker growth policies. And so we thank you for joining us, Alan. And back to you, Tony.